today, if we look at it, we are in the masterclass where we are now trying to get close to the business side of the story that we had created as our ideas and solutions. So last time we looked at the lean canvas, and if we look at lean canvas, there must have been some experience when you created multiple lean canvases, and if someone would wish to quickly share that what was the outcome or some gain that one could have based on the lean canvas creation. Anyone can feel free to share their experience, and was that useful? Could you, when you created 2-3 lean canvases, was it giving the right kind of dividend to us? Once I know that, then today's exercise is very hands-on. What we'll do is we'll look at the business side, and there are a set of questions that I have, which we can answer quickly to get ourselves checked upon certain business parameters. Yeah, so before we get into that, if anyone would wish to share upon the lean canvas creation and what could we gain out of the same.
Mr. Rohit, I can also see a few new, names also. So if we can ask them to do a self-introduction, that will be great.
Yes, please. If, of course, some of our friends can self-introduce and request to keep the camera on. This is not a podcast. So therefore, if everyone is comfortable, for some time we can interact. Yes, Humera, how are you?
I'm good, Rohit. Thank you.
So if you may suggest certain things that you were able to use from the last session, because I vaguely remember you were there. I could recall the name, so but I may be wrong. So if you may share something, it will be useful.
Yes, so last time you picked up our case study for customer segmentation, and we drilled down to the different customer segments to narrow down on one. That's what we did. Regarding the lean startup canvas, we're still working on it. Like you said, the solutions part, and so we're still working on it. There's not much I can talk about it as of now.
I understand. What kind of a team do you have between founders and other team members?
Yeah, so we have 5 in total. Chitrali and even Commander Vikas Wilson here. They are we're from the same team. So we are like we have complementary skill sets into EdTech and operations and startup experience also included.
Yes. Excellent. Now, why I asked that question is then it may be wise to create a lean canvas for the same segment by 5 of you. So what would happen, and it may only take you an hour or half an hour of an exercise, but the kind of depth that you will gain from all 5 members' perspective on the lean canvas domains will actually be useful in getting a good direction. So therefore, I asked that question, and that's applicable to all other teams, that if we may have 3 to 10 team members, each team member can be allocated the task to make the lean canvas based on one customer segment that we have agreed upon. At least one to begin with. We are saying we'll create 3, but for the entire team, the most significant adopters, early adopters for a specific customer segment, if we are able to create a persona and then create a lean canvas, a lot will emerge from it. And I've seen actually businesses completely changing course, looking at the lean canvas by inputs from team members whom we have never thought about, no? Because sometimes it happens that we feel a technical person would be good at coding or providing technical inputs, but sometimes the kind of insights that they can come from their side for things like whom do we associate with, or partnerships, key activities that we can add or change, those sometimes become game changers for startups. So therefore, it may be wise if we can extend that exercise to everyone. And I'll be more than happy to hear what came as an outcome, because that is what we are trying to achieve here. That by this masterclass, are we able to change course or improve upon something or arrive at something which you can apply in the coming week would be really beneficial. So therefore, we are treating this as a hands-on quick exercise that would continue over this period of time. Yeah, but great. Good to hear that you have already started working on it. But my request is just take an hour, maybe half an hour, and just tell everyone, give the lean canvas, and you can possibly sit in one room, different corners, and just one customer segment. And from that segment, the early adapter, and we can sketch. You can also sketch a joint view of their interesting characteristics of them, and then suddenly we can create our own canvases and see the difference. Yeah, so useful exercise, and you'll see once you finish, you'll see the game-changing effects. So thanks, and of course welcome to the session. We'll move on today trying to answer, and therefore today's exercise is more hands-on, so each team member should answer on their own, don't discuss, and then later on look at each other's notes. Yeah, great. Any other friend may want to share from the last session, if there is something that you would want to share, or you got certain benefits while applying it to the field, it will be useful. Of course, Prem Bhai, I have already discussed with him, so he already has certain points there, but I would like to ask some new members or other members to also contribute. Vikas, I see, is there, Nirali is there. Chitrali, if you may want to share something based on the lean canvas, just feel free quickly.
As Humaira just mentioned, we are still working on all the segments from the lean business canvas, and we are working on it.
Great.
And so last session on customer segmentation, actually, it was a good session. So we actually understood how to break down or boil down into our customer segment.
Excellent, excellent. And I would look forward to that as a team, if some of you can be quite diverse in your approach of also the segment, that could also be useful. You know, sometimes we feel that there is a segment that we are trying to address, but suddenly one says, no, let us look at this different segment from a completely different perspective. That could also sometimes be game changer for us. But happy that we are doing that. Only request if we can speeden up it a little, so that this session's inputs could be useful to you in the week itself. Yeah, thanks actually for contributing. Let's move on, friends. Karan bhai, I think we can then begin the session for today.
Sure, please.
Yeah, okay. So in that context, friends, what we'll like to do today is a hands-on exercise, and so I'll begin here. Of course, we are into the masterclass and straight into the exercise. Now, there are some questions that I want you to answer. Since most of us have a slight idea of going to the market, getting certain views and feedbacks from customers, therefore, I would wish that this be a hands-on exercise, and all of us take up our, now here the title is business model canvas, but don't worry too much about that. We've done the lean, and I don't want to create a business model canvas as yet. We'll do that. We'll refer to the term business model, but why we are referring is that this is a very standard term and a lot of people use that term. However, my understanding is that the lean is much useful at our stage. After a month or so, we will be in a position to definitely create a robust business model canvas. But till that time, that space of solution that we see empty in the lean, let that be empty, so that whatever iterations we do, we keep changing our situation there. But having said that, let's answer some of these points. Now, this is from a scale of 0 to 10. All of us will have to answer. Let's begin with the first question. And that's a very simple one. Will our customers leave us for somebody else? No. So on the left-hand side, it says nothing holds my customer back from leaving me. On the right-hand side, you have my customers are locked in for several years. Now, that's the most ideal situation, locked in for several years. Where would we weigh our idea or solution or a business proposition on this scale of 0 to 10? So hope all of us can do this exercise in parallel. And this is your judgment. No, when I say, of course, and don't take the hat of a founder, because most of the founders think that people will stay with us forever. That's not true. So let's make a judgment quickly. So let's give ourselves a point here, 0 out of 10, and let's take one example to understand why so. So anyone can feel free. Where do you think? Switching cost. Nothing holds my customer back from leaving me, 0, and people will stay with me for years on the 10. Where do we see our scale? On this scale, where do we see that?
Yeah, can I, sir?
Yeah, of course, please.
Yeah. My program is just about starting, so I cannot be very authentic in my expectation, in my opinion right now. But I believe that the program that I have kind of, put some mold around the students, around the aspirants for this kind of education, because there aren't, if we look at it closely, there aren't too many alternatives of this kind. While there are workshops, there are smaller players in the market who are giving coding education. The program is structured here very differently to increasing and progressively. So I believe that I do have a good chances of having something like about 8 out of 10 to hold out to my customers.
Okay. So let us take this view, and now let us look at, okay, from your team, Humera, Chitrali, where would you weigh yourself in points?
So since we are in EdTech, and what we see is that the time of the students is very much divided, and especially post school, they have a lot of things on their plate. So we would put it somewhere near 2 or 3.
Okay. Now let us take that as criteria. Prem bhai, where would you put yourself at 6 somewhere? 5, 6, 7?
8, sir.
8. Okay.
Yeah.
So now let us understand that how do we ensure to be on the right hand side? That's our objective, and I appreciate your saying 3 or 4, because that gives us now a chance to work. What do I do? So what are the things that we can do to see that people stay with us? Now, some of these things can be built into a product or service. Now I'm in terms of the deliverables, not in terms of agreement, because if we even go by agreement and say it's a 5-year agreement, they will come back and say after a year that it's over. Now there's no way we can get into litigations and those things. That's not business. So yeah, of course we can get into those and ensure the hygiene factors, but some of the things can be built into our program. For example, some of the EdTech companies, they tend to differentiate their offerings by years. So what they may say is that I have a age increment program. So I can give my program to grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, grade 7, and 8. Each one is different. So as they keep growing, my program also keeps changing, and which will therefore, if they remain with us for 6 years, the outcomes will be better. So one, we are saying age increment kind of outcomes. Second, sometimes we also say the kind of interventions will vary. For example, let's take a small example of STEM. If you divide STEM into STEM, now that has gone much ahead, stream and stream I and all those. But let us say only STEM. Can we design our programs to focus on first science, then technology, then engineering, and then mathematics separately, and say the first year will be the building, which is the foundation. Second year we'll focus on A, third year B. So we are saying we can break it into that manner. We may also break it into the levels of difficulty, keeping STEM same, but we can break it into level 1, 2, 3. Now, most of the people are intrigued, what is level 5? Can I go to level 5? So therefore, we can say, yeah, definitely you can go to level 5, but try out level 1 before. And if you are able to succeed, move to level 2 and 3. So another way of saying that, can we stop our customers from moving? Fourth point, can we also build in certain kind of things within the system? For example, we tell our customers that the pricing of this entire product that we have is based on a criteria which helps you that they stay with you for a couple of years. So that can also be looked at. Now, why I'm sharing all this is generally when we look at such kind of a system, we look at our core product. But right now we have moved beyond the core product into the business side of it. For example, can a partnership with an institution help you to hold on to your customers for long? For example, if Government of India Association tells a client that you have to be with us for 5 years and therefore you will get certain benefits in terms of accreditation, of course, schools and higher education institute look for accreditations. So if somebody says your accreditation point will go up if you are there for 3 years, then we are building a switch, we are countering the switching cost. Sometime if we say that certifications will be of a kind which will help the participants to be with us for some time, again interesting. For example, if we have the level 1 certification given to a student, like you must have seen in Six Sigma. When we talk of Six Sigma and somebody has to take a Six Sigma program, there are belts. Now, what are those belts are actually levels, and that's stopping a person to move from 1 to 2. So how do we get these ideas? What we can do is that we can use analogy, or we can use metaphor, or we can come up with new ideas as we have done in previous session. Primbhai would recall, but we can do something like pick up what is the most robust kind of a system that makes people stay with them for long. For example, cricket in India. If we look at cricket in India, starts from the street cricket and keeps going up, and some land up in IPL and some go to Ranji Trophy and of course keep going up in the national team. There is a whole hierarchy and there is a whole system that has been created. Now, if we take that as a metaphor or an analogy and apply to our thing, can we create that system so that we know people will stay with us for 5 years? Or we take performing art. For example, Bharatnatyam, 7 stages, each stage one crosses, then the 8th stage, and then innovation. Now, that's evolved system. So what can we learn from evolved system is how do we bring those things into our startup thoughts? And can we use that? Like they have created stages of progress. Can we also look at stages or belts or those kind of things? Now, I'm just giving random ideas for the reason that it is sometimes we look at switching cost and we feel there is nothing that can hold of course, that's true. Nothing can hold a customer back to us, but we can always build our methods around it. Yeah, so that's the first one. So from moving from 3 to 4, from there to 7 to 8, what kind of things do I build it into my startup? And some of that you can please note it right away. So you can just know if you got some ideas from what I spoke or some other ideas, just document it. So it takes us at least from 3, 4 to 6, 7. On the other hand, Prembhai, how you can use it is that because you are closer, you're saying you're closer to 8. How do you ensure that you remain at 8? Now that's a different. So first we talked about what can we do to get into 7, 8, 9 position. But on the other hand, how do I remain there? So what kind of things will I look at customer satisfaction factors? What can I build in terms of grading? Grading is one of the easiest method to, that is why the schools, grade 10 board exam, grade 12 board. And so we are saying, if you have to go to grade 12, you have to go from grade 1. So they're going to be with them. There's no, but with the new higher education policy and new education system coming in, we may see great amount of changes. Why should a person every year go with 1 grade, jump grades and finish some things? Of course, that's debatable, but what I'm saying is, in certain cases, switching costs are very interesting way of looking at it. So my suggestion for EdTech, look at a completely evolved model like sports or performing art. At the other hand, look at a very, very rigid school model. How do they ensure that people don't switch from one school to another and don't move from one board to another and remain with us from grade 1 to grade 12 and then after 12, 4 years, and then after that, the 2 years, and after that, the PhD. So you continue being a customer to the education system. Yeah, I don't know whether that's right or wrong. We are not debating that, but our job here as a startup is to ensure that we succeed. We'll see that what is the best model. So that was for the switching cost. Let's now go to the next, and this same method now we will apply. I gave an example to begin with, but let us say recurring revenue. Many of us on the left, you will see 100% of my sales are transactional. Transactional means no, just one, we take it and that's about it, one time. On the other hand, 100% of my sales lead to automatic recurring revenue. Now think about it. Things which we thought previously as one-time sale are converting into recurring. For example, if you buy a Tesla car, cars are generally thought that we'll buy one car and 10 years through, nothing more. Of course, now we have surveys and all those things, which are small. But if you look at how seriously people are bringing that recurring, is that your any mobile phone. So I buy an Apple phone, I pay the price, then I have to pay every month for iCloud to manage the storage. So I'm again paying them recurring costs. Now, previously we would think, but we have bought a gadget and that's about it. It's one time, buying. But no, they have created models around it. Same way, if we look at Tesla, we say, okay, I bought a Tesla, but if they say, okay, you have to download a software every 6 months. Now, one method is they'll say it's a free thing. The other method is we don't know in evolved market which will remain free or not. And what happens is if you bought something there and 6 months we are not upgrading, now it becomes a challenge. Because if we have not upgraded, we know the car will not start sometime. Now, what will we do with that piece lying there, which we have spent so much? So what I'm trying to address here is that how can revenue models be looked at in interesting ways? I'm not saying that we would want to take a model where subscription is there. Please don't get into that mindset. Certain models work best in early stage of startup in a certain manner. Sometime when we go to a market and say, you pay me recurring in my first service, like for example, if you remember Lean Canvas and all the companies we discussed, which are great today, if you see most of them, their first customers for Facebook was Harvard students. For Google, it was Stanford students, early adopters. Now, who will pay? So at that stage, their model was not to collect too much money. If they had gone to the market saying, you pay me for Facebook, Facebook would not have taken off also in that regard. So at current stage of our startup, how do we look at our revenue stream? And now comes an interesting phase, which I would wish all of us to do. We'll dwell more in the future sessions. When a startup looks at its own activities and stage, we have to be defining our startup growth as it feels to us. So for example, pre-launch stage, launch stage, post-launch stage, growth stage, and all these, that when we look at a startup, how do we look at revenue streams changing as our startup grows? For example, to get your first customer, what kind of a revenue stream that you think is most ideal? For getting the first 50, what do you think is the most ideal? For getting first 250, what is the revenue stream you will be looking at? For 500, what will you be looking at? I'm talking about these numbers in terms of B2B, but if you're looking at B2C, then you will look at 1 to 1,000 and 1,000 to 5,000 and 5,000 to 10,000. Do we want to, as startup, look at different kind of revenue stream and model? So let's first look at this scale, 0 to 10. Please weigh yourself where you are. But while you weigh that, what question arises is, this is what we think, but right now we are talking about what our customer thinks. Yeah, so don't wear the hat of a founder. Here, wear the hat of a end user. So from an end user perspective, do you think that it is a one-time sale? Like I'll go and take this service once and that's about it? Or do you think, no, I'll need them regularly? And let's be honest, where are we? So again, question to the team, and let's hear where do you think you are? And now I would want you to tell me where you are, what kind of two revenue streams would you want to try, which is one on the left-hand side and one on the right-hand side. And you think that, yes, customers will stay back and will pay us, of course. So Chitrali, you are into the left 0 side or the 10 side?
Currently, we are mostly at in between 2 and 3.
So which means it's transactional.
Yeah,
Now let us
currently.
quickly think about that. How can I think of a revenue stream from my own product? Can I break my product into components where something can go as transactional and something can go recurring? Just to give, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we do have a model where where it's transactional, and we also have a model where it's where we get recurring revenue. But for that, I mean, there are other problems associated with getting students into our main model.
Yes.
So maybe if we can figure those out, probably
Yes.
we'll be able to move into our recurring revenue model very soon.
Excellent, excellent. Now, what does it tell us is also sometimes incremental. For example, it's not necessary that we may be that it is a monetary recurring. No, sometimes there are things which are non-monetary also. For example, if you gamify your content, you are trying to get your people to stay with you for till the end of the game. So that helps us in switching cost. It also helps us in the future revenue streams that can arise out of it. It can also be sometime that there are certain things where we may not even charge our end user. You know, like if our model is based on advertising and those, we may not want to charge our end user. In fact, even in early stage startups, sometimes our entire model is based on investment. Look, for example, the first 5,000 customers till I get, we may have a challenge of our revenues coming in. But I want, therefore, all of us here to deliberate a little upon that. If that was a drastic situation, how would I manage myself to be there for the next couple of years in such a situation where sometimes it is very transactional and sometimes we may not even want to charge anything in that context? How would we survive in that time frame, or how do we thrive in that time frame? Yeah, so let's think a couple of things here. Of course, these are not quick fix exercise that right now you will find an answer, but let us try to see by using some creative thinking that how do we move from here to the rightmost side. That's the aim. Okay, let's go to the next. So I hope you have got this exercise. I'm not going to cover everything here because this will be shared with you. It's expected that during the week, you can actually work out on these. And the aim should be, how do we use some kind of intelligent thinking to move from 0 to the 10, closest to there. And sometimes it's not necessary. Don't try to push it deliberately close to there. If you realize that, no, we may not be able to cross beyond 6, doesn't matter. Then that becomes our constraint and we can play with a constraint. It's not necessary that all the time, all factors have to be taken to that level. Of course, the other one is interesting further. And these are generally for startups, think that way, but can we look at co-creating? Can we look at products that are co-created and revenue start coming up to us over a period of time? So how can we ensure my revenues 100% come before we incur any cost? And on the other hand, I incur 100% of my cost and then the revenue begins. How can we think of something where we can earn before we actually create any goods or services? So for example, the Dell computer example is one of the classic examples where they manufacture based on the requirement. So if we need a Dell machine, we have to place an order. The moment order is placed, then they'll make it, custom make it for us and send it. So our order has reached them before, and then they will make it. Of course, our fast food, all examples of fast food around us, no, we go to the counter, we pay and then order, and then they make it. So from this on one side to the other side, can we come up with some interesting thoughts that can have multiple kind of models and incentives for using the multiple models? Yeah. So in that sense, you can create, and this is very important for startup because sometimes bootstrapping is what we do, and therefore we may be running out of cash. And in such a situation, how do we look at our business model differently? Yeah. I hope everyone is getting that and with me. Yeah. Okay. Feel free to ask questions in between because we are a small group here, and it'll always be good to solve certain challenges as we move on. Let's look at some of the others, and now I'll not spend too much time on this because as I can understand, we have just about 20 more minutes. In that sense, I have this exercise which I'll pass you on, very useful. If you see the point number 6, growing my business model requires substantial resources and efforts too on the right hand side. Now, this kind of an answer will help us in understanding how do we raise funds? When do we raise funds? How much equity should I give away? All those answers will also come from this exercise. Some of the questions will give us very fundamental answers about our end user, but some of them will also be useful for our fundraise. So if you look at point 6, most of the investors are very keen at looking at 6, 7, and those questions become interesting. If you look at question number 5, yeah. Now, of course, on the right hand side, you will see is the most ideal, but then sometimes that's not true. But for us, the challenge here is how can we move from somewhere close to 0 to 5 to be close to 6 to 10? Can we think of something where the value can be created by external parties free for me? By doing those things, for example, if school teachers become your channels to reach the customers, you have actually saved upon the marketing expense to some extent. I'm just giving you random examples and ideas. If we make technology enabler services as our partners, then many of the platforms I have, if you see today, do not actually require us to create. 10 years back, we had to create platforms. Now I can get online and within a few hours, I can use somebody's service without incurring too much of a cost. One of the classic examples in advertising and business world was when Times Group said that give us 3% of equity in the company and we'll give you 5 crores of ads free. Now, these are all becoming, so can we look at our business model? Of course, business model has a component of partner and key activities and those things. So can we look at how do we engage with certain external parties in order to get certain things? Of course, when you are also looking at raising fund is not just about raising fund, it is also about raising revenue resources. So some of the funds that you will talk to, they may have very good channels already existing. So if you go to those funds, they will say, I'll give you ₹1 crore, but you can use my distribution channel. Now, if you use an existing distribution channel, you save upon entire money that you had to spend on creating a distribution channel. Or if they open their customer bags to say that, okay, you add this more to my product and you can go to the market fast, we may think of our product design in a way that we may give one of our services Like some years back, I remember Pedialyte had this interesting shop where hobby shop kind of a thing, and one could easily partner with them for some small activity at a hobby shop. Now, by partnering with Pedialyte, it gave the resources to us to reach all those Pedialyte places in one go, and one of our person could stand there and deliver something as free of cost. There's no need to charge because we are giving 10% free first. But the moment we have given 10% free, you have made the people hooked on to coming to us for the next 10%. Now that becomes the first 10% is a nominal, shared, no revenue, no expenditure kind. And for the next 10%, we can actually build our model. That is what it means, friends, when we are talking about a lean canvas. What does lean canvas do is tells us next week, can I apply something, try it out and bring it back. So my suggestion is many of you who are in current stage, don't wait till you get your product ready. Try it out with a small. We have actually advised sometimes people saying, I want to create an app, and we say, forget app, use WhatsApp and get me the first 10 customers. Because if your product is going to work, then people will come to us, even if it's any method. But let us try. So sometime creating an app, an extreme cost of putting cost on platform, even a small thing. Right now, I just came back from a place where they created a flyer and went to the market. The flyer was almost close to reality. And they said, would you take this service? And the person immediately said, yeah, where is it? I want to take it right now. How much will it cost? So we have got our customer engagement there. And if that works, then our first 10 customers can come in and the service can begin. So there's no point in saying that we are going to wait till big bang approach and we'll do that. This could be a combination of, we call it in this startup terms, a combination of design thinking, lean and agile. And lean comes from the lean canvas. Agile is, of course, we go to the market, quickly do changes, bring back and have the agility to try out things when even the product is not ready for several components. No, same can be. So each of the points mentioned here could be useful to us in looking at our startup from that perspective. The other thing that we just discussed is don't wait too long for idea to succeed. Let's go out and see if somebody is buying it, then give it. No, even one customer, let's take it and start our service and see what results come. This will give us a lot of learning from the field itself. So having said that,
Rohit,
yeah,
quick
please.
request.
Yes.
Can you take our product as an example? I'm Vigna. My name is King and I represent What Is My Role. Can we take our startup as an example and work on scalability for a moment?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
I'll explain our product. What we do is we take students from 5th to 8th standard, conduct live sessions with career achievers, professionals. Our intention is that the students get exposed to all the career professionals so that they are ready to take a career decision. Rather than counselor or parents telling them, they know what is good, and after that we put a small test and their experience, the test, and then we also over the period of the time whenever the classes are going on, we help them understand what is their strengths and weaknesses. So they should be ready to take a career decision on themselves. Everything is manual as of now. If you want to scale, we can bring in technology or we can do something, but I want to learn from you what is the best way to scale a product like this, which is completely manual.
Yeah, no, I think so there is no one right answer here. What we are trying to do here is exactly what I was saying is that let's experiment with 5 or 6 things. So one experiment which comes to my mind is, do you have levels of mentors? And can you encourage people from moving from mentor A to B to C to D, and finally the mentor Z is IIT professor. Now, I have not answered just the scalability. I'm giving you other points that we discussed. Now, by doing that, will people be excited to be with you till they reach the IIT mentor. So that's a hook that you have put at the end of your game, that this is the sequence. The other thing that comes to my mind is that there are, of course, various emerging tech options that we have in order to look at the future. So if I was to look at the future, metaverse could be very useful to you in future. The various avatars teaching various mentoring for various things becomes very useful. How you can actually leverage those is because of these emerging tech, uh, understanding of the closeness of which emerging tech would you be closestly associated to. Do you want to use AR? Of course, you will have to use combination, but would you use something like augmented and virtual reality along with AI over a period of time? What it does is it will definitely help you in raising fund. The moment you bring the scalability side of it, for example, you say, my system learns on itself, and we give 5 different personas of mentors. So there is a mentor that is an occupational therapist. There is a mentor that is a subject expert. There is a mentor that is a skill expert mentor. There's a mentor specifically for thinking and helping people out on those aspects. There is a mentor that just works on how one should plan one's things. Now, these personas could be different mentors. We are not getting too much because that's your trade secret of who you are. But can you identify? I've just given you ideas of these 5 mentors. Let's say persona. You may create those 5 mentors and build your machine learning model based on how these mentors will evolve over a period of time to eventually become a buddy to these students anytime, anywhere. So if I try to do that, now you may also say that I want to only bring it only at this age. No, it's not necessary that you may say I want to bring the entire system at all age. You may say, or you may also talk about hybrid or blended model. You may say blended mentors coming in. But I see your model for the future in terms of career advice or guidance to be a machine learning model where the mentors or the helpers are basically machine learned uh, or developed programs. The moment you try to speak that language, you will definitely interest investors because that's where the real money is. It's not about scalability. It is about least resources being deployed at a certain time and the system run on its own, and it keeps learning on its own and evolving in its own. Whereas on the other side, where you want to keep the human touch of the same, you may go very personalized. So this would bring in skill, and it could be a very premium model. So there are premium models available where you want to learn from a one-to-one person or get a time of somebody. There is that kind of model. There is a model that works on given written some things and evaluated and given back. There is a combination of these. You may start from a very simple chatbot, FAQ based kind of approach to the highest evolved system where people, the machine will learn and talk to and advise looking at hundreds of variables. So I know of a cross industry example. A very dear friend set up one of the microfinance loan companies. They started with 7 variables. Today they are working with 800 variables. And their thing is very simple. You want to get a loan within 1 day, they can do that. So when they started, they were bad debts, all kind of. So they had 7 variables, then they increased 8, 9. Now there are 800 variables that they check without too much of an effort to a person. So a person may not even know, they may fill just one form. But at the back end, there are 800 different things that are known by them before they qualify for what is the amount of loan can be given and what is the kind of expected paybacks and those. So what it will entail, my suggestion is that for your team, while you deliver the things, so one thing my request would be that please start delivering. If it is manual, don't wait for the product to be ready. Whatever you see is the best starting point, let's start delivering. Suppose there are 5 of you, can 5 of you play the role of 5 different mentors, or get some mentors in and start the work. While you are doing that, you keep mapping the variables. You will find in our masterclass, I think Karan Bhai can help, but masterclass 2 or 3, where I talked on data points for collecting the data by observation and empathy, and putting those data points and clustering those data and arriving at variables. That was problem articulation session somewhere there. So if we are able to identify those variables and begin by 10, 15 variables and let the machine learn, I can assure you, if you talk this language to your investor, they would definitely give you money. The challenge is different. The challenge is what you do is you keep selling and earning, but you also keep that tech development, emerging tech development going in parallel. That's a completely different game. If you are educators, then you will find that you'll need to have a tech founding partner in this. This is that big, because somebody will have to tell you that these are the algorithms, these are the variables, this is how machine learning, and you go to your investor and say, we have created this small machine learning program which will learn and give this kind of mentorship in future, then they will be interested to listen to you. If vis-a-vis, and give you better better outcome vis-a-vis equity. Otherwise, if you just go at an idea stage and tell them, they'll appreciate what you are saying, but you'll have to give a lot of equity for that. So my thought would be, apply your thoughts onto, let's say, 30 students, map them continuously over a period of time, even if they don't pay you. Just map them. Friends, family, as you can understand, Google did it with the students at Harvard. Facebook did with students of Stanford and Harvard. So friends and family, track it for 6 months, understand the variables coming out, put those variables into an algorithm, see that whether that model has started to learn something on its own, what outcomes come out. That's about it. Show that to an investor and he'll know that, okay, from 30 to 30,000, this model will work. Yeah. So those are few advice. I went just by the business model canvas, suggesting founding partners, suggesting certain exercise from the past, data clustering, arriving at variables. For you, I think you can go both the route. You can go the metaverse route. You can go which will combine everything together, AR, VR, AI, and all those. You may go very specific only on AI. You may go very specific that we only give printouts to parents. There you are not even talking about a mentor. Your entire system is working at the back end. Every week you are giving inputs to parents on a piece of paper. Parents can apply it. So we are talking about guidance, career guidance, but we are talking about a systematic outflow. It could be as simple as advice given on a prescription paper, to meeting somebody at an elementary level, to meeting some expert, to meeting a chatbot, to meeting a evolved AI mentor. Yeah, any of this you can actually try it out. And I would say that should be your route for future. If you say manual, people will not invest too much, or you will have to sell it to someone who can actually scale it up. So there are tech players existing that also sometimes startups take that route. You have created a fantastic, robust manual model. Oh, no, why give other Akash and Byju's? No? So somebody already has a fantastic offline model and just partners with someone who has a very robust online model. So you could look at cross-disciplinary IITs. Some IIT students are already working on these areas. Especially that would be a good hunting ground to visit some of the IITs and talking to the AI team there, and just check with the AI team what have they done in algorithms in other areas. You are trying for career, you could try for any algorithm that tracks data on a period of time and gives recommend decisions on based on that. Yeah. Other thing interesting could be you could have some psychologists on board, let them occupational therapists and those people, and let them recommend things which also become variables for your tech side of it. Yeah. So I'm not talking app, I'm talking about machine learning. I hope that helped.
Pretty much, Rohit. Thank you very much for that.
No, that's fine. You'll raise fund if you say these words, but I don't want you to say these words. I want you to actually try it out and create. And model not necessary is an algorithm. Model is also logic. No, so from your end, don't be worried if you don't have a high tech guy with you. You could actually just write a logical sequential thing that it's a decision tree.
Yeah.
If students give the answer to these, this will be the variable. If they give these answer, this is variable. If this, all that you will know. The tech guy will not know. So you will provide the input to the tech guy to create the algorithm. If you create these many 30 various scenarios, that's why I said 30 people. You may have 30 people. You may have 300 scenarios that may emerge from that variables. Once you have that to show to someone, then you are talking that language that I understand how decision will be made. No, otherwise somebody will say that have you just getting a tech person will not solve that problem here. So tech person will sit with you and try to ask you these questions that I'm asking. Yeah. So I think let's try that way. But on the other completely different side, just go ahead and apply, please. Don't wait for the things, go to the neighbor or friends and family and just start to mentor. Let's see what keeps on transpiring there. Yeah, Vikas bhai, anything from your side?
Sir, it was absolutely stunning actually to hear from you. A lot of things which actually was making sense and actually can be put in practice for the consumption of yours. This we have already started our thing with the students coming in, and we are able to guide them. But your way of mentoring, I think it's absolutely hats off. So thank you so much for the insightful training, sir.
No, that's nice of you to have said that. That keeps us going at the end of the day. I personally strongly believe that startup is a action. It's not a theory. It's not something that we can teach you. It's you're applying that. And I greatly appreciate if you can just apply some of these and come back the next week. Don't let it become theory in startups. Big organizations can talk theory. For us, theory and application go hand in hand. Now, what I'll do is that since I've run out of time and we have our good friend here, so I'll pass this presentation, which is a straightforward question answer. We just covered some part of it. You will see a lot of questions, almost 50 questions. Just keep answering those questions and in front scribble that what can I simply apply today and what do I want to innovate upon. So when we meet next week, it would be indeed a pleasure to hear a little bit from all of us that how did we apply these and bring some changes. Yeah. So thanks.